Alright, so this is my Treat Toad Aqua Quasar deck. It originally was like a Treat Toad Frog deck, a Frog Quasar deck, but I tested out a little bit more and took out most of the frogs, so all is left is Swap Frog. So now it's more of an Aqua deck. It's mainly based off of the Aqua attributes, taking advantage of that. Of course, allowing me to go into Treat Toad, which requires 2 level 2 Aquas, and there's 3, so that's 9 level 2 Aquas in the deck. They can be used to make him. There's 2 in the extra deck, so obviously you can summon more consistently and use them more than once. Of course, Quasar, because we're going with the Goyo Defender concept. I wanted to use frogs to make Quasar, and then I was thinking like I could use the Goyo Defender idea. And I worked out the kinks on getting the strategy to work out. So the main stuff you will need to make Quasar would be 1 surface, 1 instant fusion. At first I wasn't trying to focus too much on instant fusion. It was supposed to just be a backup, just some extra stuff, but then I decided to make it part of the main combo. So it's what essentially gets you the non-tuner. So there it is, right? So you need a surface, instant fusion, and either a Grado Slime Junior or a Dew Dark of the Ice Barrier or a Swap Frog. Any one of those 3, well, along with surface and instant fusion, will allow you to go into Quasar. So obviously one of the things you want to do, let's say you got Swap Frog, surface, and instant fusion. I'm gonna explain how to make Quasar before I do anything else, right? Swap Frog, you normal summon it, or you can special summon by discarding another water type monster from your hand to the graveyard. Then use this effect to send Water Spirit from the deck to the graveyard. Since Swap Frog is a 2-star non-tuner, obviously you want to send a 1-star tuner from your deck to the graveyard. That's Aqua. Water Spirit is an Aqua tuner. Send it to the graveyard, right? Then you'll want to use surface, because it can bring back a level 3 or lower fish, sea serpent, or Aqua type monster in your graveyard in face of defense position. So use this to bring back Aqua Spirit. Use Aqua Spirit along with a Swap Frog to go summon into a Goyo Defender. Then use that Goyo Defender's effect, since all you have is just Goyo Defender, a Synchro Warrior on your side of the field, this Earth. Use his effect to special summon a copy. Then use that second one's effect to special summon the third copy. So now you have 3 Goyo Defenders on the field. You want to make Exo Synchron. So the way you'll do that, obviously, is you'll want to use instant fusion. In this scenario with Swap Frog, you want to use instant fusion to bring out Norden. So you bring out Norden, his effect will activate to bring back Water Spirit, right? Now in this scenario you really don't need to have all 3 Goyo Defenders. I just tend to bring out all 3 Goyo Defenders, because having all 3 does come in handy later on for the second version. But technically, if you're going with the Norden instant fusion strategy, the Swap Frog combo, you only really need 2 Goyo Defenders. No point in summoning the third one when you only really need 2. But I just typically summon all 3 anyway, just for the heck of it, because I'm so used to summoning all 3. But you really only need 2. So to simplify that, you don't need to summon 3. You summon only 2 if you're using the Swap Frog instant fusion Norden combo. Anyway, continuing on. Obviously, Norden brings back Water Spirit. Then you can go into a 5-star synchro using Norden and the Water Spirit, and that's how you get your axial synchron. Then you use axial synchron's effect, sending jet synchron from your deck to the graveyard, then increasing axial synchron's level by 1, making him a 6-star synchro tuner. Both the GOYO defenders that you have on the field are level 3, so 3 makes 6, 6 plus axial synchron being 6, that's 12. Since those are 3 synchros you're using, you can make Quasar, right? Simple enough. But if you're not using Swap Frog and you're using Do Dark or GramOs Slime Jr. instead, then what you do is you play Instant Fusion. You summon them, right? Summon GramOs Slime or Do Dark, and then play Instant Fusion. You need a 1-star. That's where Thousand Eyes Restrict comes into play. So you summon Thousand Eyes Restrict. If just by any chance you went second, your opponent happens to have a monster, you can use Thousand Eyes Restrict's effect to steal your opponent's monster, whether face up or face down, doesn't matter, and equip it to Thousand Eyes Restrict. Then you'll synchro with a 1-star Thousand Eyes Restrict with a 2-star tuner, whichever one you use, and then go into a Warrior Defender. Now this is when you have to summon 3. So you summon all 3, as I said before, using the effects to get all 3 on the field. Then after that, use Surface. You'll use Surface to bring back either GramOs Slime Jr. or Do Dark, whichever one you use. Bring it back to the field. Use that 2-star tuner along with the third GOYO Defender and make Exo Synchron. Then use Exo Synchron's effect. Set Jet from the deck to the graveyard. Increase the level by 1, so that way Exo Synchron is a 6-star, and then you have 2 GOYO Defenders along with Exo Synchron, and of course that makes Quasar with the ability to attack twice, which is important for you to OTK, right? So simple enough. So that's why they're there and they do what they do. Now, Treat Toad, just simple little strategy to make Treat Toad. Swap Frog, and you can do it either with Surface, Instant Fusion, or even Soul Charge, right? You can summon Swap Frog, like normal summon it, and from your deck send I tend to like to send GramOs Slime if I already have one in my hand, because of the fact that I can summon the second GramOs Slime next turn, bring back GramOs Slime Jr., right? Overlay the 2 and make another Treat Toad, so that I have double the ability to negate card effects and steal from my opponent, right? So you'll use Swap Frog so you can dump GramOs Slime, and then use Surface or Instant Fusion using Norden to bring back the level 2 monster, Aqua monster from the graveyard, or Soul Charge, and bring it back, overlay, and there you go, you'll have your first turn Treat Toad. So that's the first turn play you could do when all you really got is Swap Frog and like a Surface or something like that. Another way you can do it, of course, you can use Swap Frog's ability to special summon himself by discarding any water monster you have from your hand to the graveyard. To special summon it, use his effects typically to send a Water Spirit, because you want to thin out your deck. You don't want the Water Spirits, you don't want to draw it obviously, right? You rather it go to graveyard. You don't mind drawing the tuners, the 2-stars, but the 1-star you want it to go to graveyard. So as soon as you can send it to graveyard, do so, right? Because 1, it might come in handy later, but 2, you don't want to draw it at the worst time, right? And deck thinning is always good. It helps you get to your key cards faster. So you do that. Now Swap Frog with special summon, so you can still normal summon. So then you can normal summon any level 2. Let's say you have enough Swap Frog in your hand, summon it, mill another Aqua Spirit, so 2 of them are out of your deck, and then you can overlay the 2 Swap Frogs. Of course, again, deck thinning is important, and you want to and you also want to be able to negate, right? That using any of the other ones, or just like 1 Swap Frog and any of the 2-stars to make Treat Toad. Then during your opponent's standby phase, after you end your turn, right, you activate Treat Toad's effect. Detach. I typically detach GramOs Slime, of course, if I'm gonna do the whole Greater Slime, summoning Greater Slime Treat Toad thing, I detach that to bring out Swap Frog from the deck onto the field, of course, right? Use Swap Frog's effect, send a Water Spirit or anything else that I might want to thin out my deck from. I could even send a Dual Dark if I want, just to thin out the deck some more so I can get to my spells and traps to help support my Treat Toad and anything else. Plus now, since I have a Swap Frog on the field, of course I can use Swap Frog for the cost of the effect of Treat Toad. So I contribute Swap Frog for Treat Toad's ability, so I can negate, destroy, and steal one of my opponent's cards, whether it be a monster, spell, or trap. And again, deck thinning, so that way you can run through your deck real quick. Since you have stuff like Surface, Instant Fusion, Soul Charge, to bring those monsters back from the grave, sending them, get them out the deck real quick and send them to the graveyard is obviously something you want to do. That way you can grab them back from the graveyard and use them to do stuff. Jets. Alright, so that's the most basic way of playing the deck. Now it's time to talk about the cards, what they do. 3 Swap Frogs. You can discard a water monster from your graveyard to special summon this card from your hand. When this card is summoned, you can select and send 1 level 2 or lower Aqua monster, Aqua type water monster from your deck or your side of the field to the graveyard. Obviously, you want to do it from the deck. Once per turn, you can return 1 monster you control to your hand, to normal summon 1 frog monster except Swap Frog or a Frog the Jam in addition to your normal summoner set this turn. So you could special summon them, right? Discard, special summon them. Use his effect to send like a water spirit from your deck to the graveyard. Then use his effect to bounce him back to your hand. Then discard another water monster from your hand to special summon him. Then use his effect to mill another monster from your deck onto the graveyard. And then if you just so, if you of course if you have a normal summon you can, and if you just so happen to have a frog, you can also normal summon that frog since you did gain that extra normal summon for that turn. So you'll have 2 normal summons plus you special summon Swap Frog twice, in a single turn. You thinned out your deck by 2 cards, and now you got 3 monsters on the field to do whatever you want with, right? Typically you might overlay, obviously make Treat Toad, and then use the extra monster, which more likely would be a frog, for the cost of Treat Toad, so that way Treat Toad can do what Treat Toad does. Now double checking, yeah, because Treat Toad doesn't require a frog specific, just an Aqua monster, so that way it doesn't be confusing. You don't need a frog specifically for its negation effect. You can use an Aqua monster just like you can use itself because it is an Aqua monster. And you can also attribute an Aqua monster from your hand as well. I've had one of these in my hand and I discarded it for the effect of Treat Toad. Moving on. Jet Synchron. It's mainly in the deck for Axel Synchron, so he can increase his level. But he can also be used, obviously, in conjunction with Swap Frog to make Goyo Defender, since he is a 1-star tuner. And you can't special him from the graveyard, so that has some relevance. I just realized that chances, since I did change this deck a little bit, this formula is actually is dead. That formula actually shouldn't be there. So for the time being, let me move them out. And let's move something else in. For now, let's add this bad boy in there. Just realized that. Forgot to modify the extra deck a little bit. Alright. Mainly I don't summon it as much. But anyway, there you go. So now the deck profile is accurate the way it's supposed to be. Because usually I do use just Synchron with like Treeborn Frog to make formula, but I don't use Treeborn Frog in this build anymore, so that formula was useless. If it has the effect, you can discard a card from your hand to the graveyard to special summon from the graveyard, and then after it leaves the field, you know, is banished. With Impair on Wall, that's not the case, so you can always discard or bring it back. So as long as you have Impair on Wall, you can always discard a card or bring it back. So it's something, right? If I had like some monster that I need to tribute, then yeah, that would be extra great, because then that's tribute fodder every turn, right? But for now, it's just Jet Synchron. But the fact that I could summon it back and forth to Synchro is always good. Once per turn, of course, but every turn I can discard, bring it back, discard, bring it back, since it will never banish because of Impair on Wall. But anyway, it has a secondary effect, but it's not necessary in this deck. It lets you add a junk monster from your deck to your hand if this is used as Synchro material. Moving on, Water Spirits. It's just a 1-star Aqua tuner. That is all. No abilities because it's a normal monster, but it still serves a purpose. Dual Dark of the Ice Barrier. If the only face-up monsters you control are level 2 or lower monsters, this card can attack your opponent directly. So if it's on the field by itself, it can attack directly. If you summon a monster that's level 2 or lower, you know, since obviously this deck has a lot of level 2 or lowers, you'll be able to attack directly. If you get 2 of these on the field or 3 of these on the field, you'll be attacking for, if you get 3 on the field, you'll be attacking for 3,600 every turn. So that's, you know, that's almost 4,000 a turn, right? So you'll be able to beat your opponent relatively fast with that. So that's one of the useful things of it. There are other level 2 Aqua monsters, but this has that nice little direct attack 1200 ability, which can come in handy, especially as a top deck. Top deck, your opponent is low on life, summon it, attack your opponent directly, win the game, right? And I've actually won a couple of duels with that effect alone. Have that on the field, red screen, attacking my opponent directly until he dies before I do. So that's always good. He's a tuner, of course, so it helps you with Synchro Summon. He's a level 2 Aqua monster, so you can use him for making Treat Toad or using him for the effect of Treat Toad. So he's a good 2-star Aqua monster to play with. Grado Slime, because he has the ability to grab a Grado monster from the graveyard and special summon it. So of course you use it to grab a copy of himself from the graveyard. He's a tuner, obviously, so he's useful. He's Aqua 2-star. When this card is normal summon, you know, you can target Grado monster in your graveyard, and you cannot special summon monsters for the rest of the turn except water monsters. This deck is largely water, especially if you're using him for bringing back a Grado Slime Jr. Obviously, you're going into a Treat Toad play, which is a water monster, obviously. Another option now, obviously, is Burgistotoma Obabinia, however way you pronounce that, I don't know. But you know, you can exceed into that as an option. Also, if you special summon the Grado monster from the graveyard onto the field, you can special summon a Aqua type monster with the same level as that monster from your graveyard onto the field from your hand, so you can get multiple monsters on the field in a single turn. But I typically don't use that effect. When this card is destroyed by battle and sent to the graveyard, you can special summon 1 Grado monster from your deck. So, you know, it's a floater. Grado Slime Jr. dies, you bring out another copy. Has 2,000 defense, which is pretty decent. And that's a pretty good way to thin out your deck, of course, and also get a Grado Slime in the graveyard and get 1 onto the field. Then on your turn, you summon a level 2 monster, Aqua, overlay, make Treat Toad, and whenever a Treat Toad is sent from the field to graveyard, you can add the Grado Slime Jr. One of them from the graveyard to your hand. Alright, and then the following turn, summon that one to grab the second copy from the graveyard, and then overlay and make your second Treat Toad, or make the Burgistoma, or make a Sky Cavalry Centauri. So that's a nice little trick you can do using Treat Toad's ability of adding a water monster from your graveyard to your hand. But of course, typically I like using Treat Toad's ability on himself, adding him back from the graveyard to my extra deck, so I can resummon him. especially if I use Treat Toad himself for his effect. If I tribute him to negate something and steal my opponent's card, I would use Treat Toad's effect on himself and put him back in the extra deck, so that way I could summon him again later. Yep. Surface, obviously it's like a Monster Reborn. It's faster than Call the Haunted. Call Haunted too slow, right? You want to do everything on one single turn, especially if you're trying to go for Quasar, you know, or trying to do a first turn Treat Toad play, obviously. So lets you target one level 3 or lower fish, sea serpent, or aqua type monster in your graveyard, special summon face up defense position. And you can use that monster's effect because it doesn't negate the monster's effect, which is always great because you can always use it to bring back Swap Frog, and then use Swap Frog to thin out your deck of your spirit tree, your water spirits. Then we have Instant Fusion. Granted that there's 3 in the deck and there's only 2 fusions in the extra deck, Northern and Thousand Eyes Restrict, but it's for consistency because the idea is you want to get 1 instant fusion, 1 surface, and any of these monsters in your hand so you can go off. You don't really need water spirit or jet synchro. Interesting enough, I just realized that you actually can still use formula. If you use instant fusion with Thousand Eyes Restrict, you can still go with formula. I think that's what was going on. I was still making formula with Thousand Eyes Restrict. Oh well, to each their own. You know, you can obviously alter the deck slightly to fit your play style. But yeah, instant fusion, awesome. I'll get you the non-tuner you need to synchro. Also, just by using it to bring out Thousand Eyes Restrict lets you, get rid of one of your opponent's problematic monsters, so that itself is an out. His effect does target, so it's not useful against stuff that can't be targeted, but other than that, it's relatively a good cheap out to certain things. So that way it's not a dead draw. That way you're not stuck just using it as a combo piece. You can play it individually. Also, if you use it with Northern, of course, it's a Monster Reborn, right? Bring out Northern uses the effect, bring back any of the tuners. Now there's no 6-star synchro in the extra deck, mainly because I'm opting for Jet Warrior, but you could take out Great Old One Huster and put in a 6-star if you want, like a Warrior Guardian or something. That way you can instant enter Northern, bring back any level 2 Aqua monster, and then sink into a Warrior Guardian or something like that. So it's up to you if you want to change it up a bit to utilize that, but to each their own. Synergy, right? Twin Twister helps you destroy pendulum scales, helps you clear heavy back row. If your opponent, has heavy amount of back row, this is useful. Plus, this is good against any scenario where you need to get rid of more than one card, because maybe more than one card is a problem. Like one card stops you from doing one thing, but then another card stops you from doing something else. So Twin Twister is great for that. So you gotta get rid of that problematic back row, so you can go off and go Quasar on somebody. Mr. Space Typhoon helps you get rid of back row. Since I'm using Imperial Iron Wall, using Cosmic Cyclone is not practical, as well as I'm already spending a considerable amount of life points in this deck by playing Instant Fusion, Red Screen, and Solemn Strike, so it makes no sense to put more and more cards that require life points, right? So anyway, there's a Space Typhoon, quick play, good against stuff like Anti-Spell Fragrance or Imperial, or against Dominion, or anything else that could be problematic, that could prevent you from going into Quasar and winning the game. Plus, getting rid of any problematic back row is always good. Then we have Red Screen for defense. It's part of your Triangle of Power. It allows you to attack, but does not allow your opponent's monsters to attack. During each of your end phases, you pay 1,000 life points. It's not optional. And if you have if you have 1,000 life points left, you will lose that 1,000 and you will lose the game. But if you have less than 1,000 during your end phase, when this card goes off, it will self-destruct because you don't have 1,000 to pay for it, so you'll live, which sucks. That if you have 1,000, you can actually lose from the card effect. But either way, it's a great card. Has a secondary effect that you really won't use. Alright, so moving on. But I'll say it anyway, just in case somehow you end up stealing your opponent's Red Dragon Archfiend. This has the effect that if Red Dragon Archfiend is face up, oh, never mind, your opponent could be the one that controls Red Dragon Archfiend. I'll keep that in mind. I keep forgetting that. I keep thinking I gotta have Red Dragon Archfiend. I've been using this for years and I still think that I have to control Red Dragon Archfiend if he's on the field, period. Because like one level 1 tuner monster in your graveyard and then special summon it, and then destroy this card and then special summon that tuner. So that's very useful. I gotta keep that in mind, especially if I go up against like a Red Dragon Archfiend deck. I can send this to a graveyard if I don't need this anymore, or if I have 2 copies, I can activate the second copy, send that one to a graveyard, or special summon the 1-star tuner in case I need the 1-star tuner in for a certain combo. So it's pretty good. It has under the right conditions, it can substitute as a surface. So that's cool, good to note. But I mainly use it just for defense, obviously. Wing Blast does target but doesn't destroy, so it's useful against stuff like Stardust and things of that nature, Shooting Star Dragon, so far and so forth, because it doesn't destroy. It's good against monsters that can't be destroyed, good against cards that you don't want to destroy, like Shaddoll fusion monsters or anything of that nature. Zang Zing, you don't want to destroy them. Cosmo Town, so far and so forth. There's certain things you don't want to destroy, so this is very good against that. Also, this works against any card, not just monsters. It works against spells and traps as well. It only affects your, it can only be used against your opponent's cards. You can't use it on yourself. But the fact that it puts the card on top of your opponent's deck can be very useful, especially if you're trying to make your opponent a dead draw or slow them down, which is what I do a lot. Let's say my opponent sets a trap. I will Wing Blast it on top of their deck. So that way next turn they'll draw. That's what they'll draw, will be the trap. And then they'll have to set it again. So, that slows them down even more, right? It's not that effective against like a spell card. Like let's say they play Kaiser Coliseum or something. You're like, Wing Blast on top of your deck. Alright, that's cool for one turn, but when it's their turn, they'll draw it, play it, and you're stuck not being able to summon more monsters because of the Kaiser Coliseum, right? So it's great against traps because traps are a little bit slower. Obviously, it's pretty decent against high-level monsters. Let's say your opponent went through a lot of trouble with a special summon or even tribute summon a Blue Eyes onto the field, and then you just Wing Blast it back top of their deck. So they're top decking a level 8 Belena that can't be special summoned by itself. They would need cards to summon it, which if they do use cards to summon it, well, you just made them waste more cards, so that gives you more of an advantage by doing so. So forth and so forth. I can go on and on about why it's such a great card to play. It does have a cost. You discard a card to use it, but it's worth it if it puts you ahead, of the game. And I have doubled Wing Blast somebody, so it slowed them down greatly. Obviously it's a slightly heavy cost because I had to use 2 traps, 2 cards in my hand, so that's 4 cards, just to slow my opponent down for like 3 to 4 turns, potentially, depending on what happens. But those extra 2 turns of them drawing the same shit they already had, gives you 2 extra turns to potentially draw into what you really need. Which hopefully I expect to get into like a red screen, because the red screen will help me stall even longer. I consider it like a draw engine, so forth and so forth. I don't need to explain too much, right? You guys should understand this by now, how great these cards are. Solemn Strike, general purpose, negates monster effect, negates inherent summons, and negates pendulum summons. So it's great in general. So obviously you don't have to explain too much why you should play. Obviously you should know that you should play. Moving on, Imperial on Wall, because there are cards coming out, like for example Cosmic Cyclone just came out and it has the ability to banish a spell or trap, so that's something to take into consideration. I don't have many things that I have to worry about getting banished per se, but at least if I have Imperial on Wall, they can't use this to banish the Iron Wall. So they will have to resort to like an MST or Twin Twister to get rid of my Iron Wall if they require the ability to banish the special summon or banish just for effects. That's another thing, is it's a good idea to main deck Imperial Iron Wall, because there's a lot of decks that benefit from banishing. There's some decks that benefit from not banishing. I like using Imperial Iron Wall in what's it called? Cristrons. I like to use the Imperial Iron Wall in there because it helps keep a lot of the synchro materials, the tuners and non-tuners, from banishing, so I can keep synchro summoning during my opponent's turn multiple times, right? Plus, it's useful against stuff like certain decks like Cosmos, Infernoids, Burning Dragon Rulers, you know, anything like that, Chaos Dragons, so forth and so forth. There's gonna be more decks coming out though that have, you know, banish effects. So Imperial Iron Wall is obviously a good main deck for that. Bombless, Trench, Deep Prison, you know, these cards are a thing. There's some monsters that have banishing effects, Dark Law, Herald of Pure Light or something like that. You know, I mean, there's a couple, not a couple, but there's a lot of cards out there that have effects that banish. So having something that can counteract that is always useful. So Imperial Iron Wall is more valuable as a main deck card than a side deck card. Since I don't side deck, I require it to be main deck. Soul Charge obviously helps you go into a couple possible plays. You know, it can help you get into Quasar if need be. Obviously, it can help you go into double treat Toads under the right conditions. Plus, it's just a general good card, especially as a top deck. Like, oh, top deck Soul Charge, it's just like an overpowered Monster Reborn, basically, with a price. Finally, the extra deck. 2 Treat Toads. You should already know what it does already, because I was bragging about it this whole time, right? During either player's turn, you can detach. During either player's turn, when your opponent activates a spell, trap, or monster effect, you can send 1 Aqua type monster from your hand or field to the graveyard and negate the activation if you do destroy that card. Then you can set the destroyed card on your field. If this card is sent to the graveyard, you can target 1 water monster in your graveyard and add it to your hand. And then, of course, you can detach a material from this card during either player's standby. So during your opponent's standby or your standby phase, you can detach a material to special summon a frog from your deck, except Frog the Jam. Because apparently he's not a frog, right? He has 2200 attack, pretty decent. Bergistoma Opabinia requires 2 level 2 monsters. It's unaffected by other monsters' effects, which is very useful. Because there's a lot of monsters that have effects and they tend to hurt your monsters. You know, like Dark Destroyer, for example. They'll special summon Dark Destroyer, destroy your monster, and then attack you directly, right? You don't want that to happen. You don't want your monster to get defeated that easily, right? You want it, if they're gonna beat your monster, they gotta beat it by battle. Ain't gonna beat it by no freaking card effect, right? So unaffected by other monsters' effects is always a good effect. Has 2400 defense, so it's a decent defender. You can activate a Bergistoma trap cards from your hand, which is a decent effect. This deck doesn't use those, but you could probably make a build that does. If this card has a trap card that adds XYZ material, you can detach 1 XYZ material from this card and add 1 of those Bergistoma trap cards from your deck to your hand. So that way, obviously, you can play those traps from your hand. Then we have Sky Cavalry Centauria. Requires 2 level 2 monsters. While this card has XYZ materials, it cannot be destroyed by battle. So that's pretty good. If this card battles an opponent's monster and your opponent still controls that monster at the end of the damage step, you can detach 1 material from this card and return that monster to the hand. So it's pretty nice. It's a good way of getting rid of any problematic wall or any monster that can't be destroyed by battle or card effect, you can use this to get rid of that monster. So obviously it's pretty decent, and it's a 2000, so it's a nice little 2000 attacker slash defender because of the whole can't be destroyed by battle as long as it has materials. Northern, obviously you summon it with instant fusion, and has the effect that when it's special summon, you can target one level 4 or lower monster in your graveyard and special summon. Its effects are negated. Also banish it when this card leaves the field. Very explain how you use him. 1000 Eyes Restrict. Well, you can use instant fusion to summon him. Use his effect to take one of your opponent's monsters, equip it as a material. Equip it as a equip card, and this gain attack and defense equal to the card's attack and defense as long as the card is face up, because you can't equip a face down card to it. Face down monster, and it will be 0 attack 0 defense if it is. Then we have Great Old One Hoster, 1 tuner, 1 or more non-tuners. If this card is sent from the monster zone to the graveyard, you can target one face up monster your opponent controls and equip this card equip this card from your graveyard to the target. So you equip it, kind of like Grados, right? While equipped by this effect, that monster cannot attack you. Its effects are negated. If the card is equipped to a monster by its own, if this card is equipped to a monster by its own effect, and then leaves the field, take control of the monster that was equipped with this card. So in other words, if this gets MST'd, because it has to be effect and leaves the field. No, it could just be, it could be banished, even if it's banished by Cosmic Cyclone. It'll still get its effect because it just has to leave the field. Then you can take control of the monster that was equipped to it. So it's kind of like a Grado, you know what I mean? It's like a level 4 synchro Grado. It's a reptile type monster. So it's 2300, decent 4-star, synchro. Obviously you can make it in this deck because there's level 2 non-tuner, level 2 tuners in the deck you can use to make them. He's pretty decent. The ability to be able to steal opponent's monster, it's pretty useful. Jet Warrior. Couple of different ways you could make it. Of course, you need Jet Synchron, the tuner, right here to make it. But you could do it. You can use Nolden to bring back Jet Synchron and then synchro into Jet Warrior. And then when this card synchro summon, you can target one card your opponent controls and return it to the hand. So this is useful to get rid of anything problematic in case your opponent probably has a card on the field that prevents you from doing something, and like a spell or trap, you can bounce it to the hand, then do what you gotta do. But also it's useful to getting rid of any big strong monsters. Get rid of it, and then attack with this monster because it's 2100 attack. It has the effect that if this card is in your graveyard, you contribute one level 2 or lower monster, special summon this card from your graveyard in defense position, but it's banished when it leaves the field. Because I use Imperial Iron Wall, obviously that won't be the case. So obviously what you can do is discard a card from your hand to the graveyard to bring back Jet Synchron, the tuner. And then use Jet Synchron, right? Tribute it for the effect of Jet Warrior while you have Imperial Iron Wall. So that way the Jet Synchron will go back to the graveyard instead of being banished. Bring back the Jet Warrior in defense mode. 1200 defense ain't that great, obviously. I would love it to be an attack mode, would be much better, but it would be more broken if that was the case, right? Bring it back in defense mode, and it's at least a 1200 defender. Not that great, but at least it's something. It's much better than an infinite 0 defense, right? Nice little 1200 defense. But it's the fact that you could, if you had other synchros options and extra, that you could summon a tuner and synchro, right? So, but it's something you can do, you know what I mean? And the fact that if you do it, bring him back, he survives, and then switch him to attack with him, so you can always essentially infinitely, right, bring back a Jet Warrior for battle purposes. And then go with your defenders, 3 of them. We already know how to use them. While face up on the field, you can special summon a copy. So you can go into Quasar, Axel Synchron, it's a synchro tuner, and you can increase or decrease its level based off of the synchron tuner that you sent from the deck to the graveyard, or synchron monster I should say you sent from the deck to the graveyard. Since we use just synchron, it'll be either increased by 1 star or decreased by 1 star. But typically you increase by 1 because you're going for Quasar. Shooting Star Dragon, it's for when Quasar gets defeated. If your opponent manages to beat Quasar in some shape, way, or form, you can bring out Shooting Star Dragon, so that we have a nice little 3300 beat stick, nice little floater you can use. You know, it's better than nothing, right? Has the effect where you can reveal the top 5 cards of your deck and then shuffle them back into your deck. For each tuner monster you revealed by revealing the 5 cards, that's how many attacks Shooting Star Dragon can do that turn. If you reveal no tuners, obviously he cannot attack. If you reveal at least 1 tuner, he can at least do his 1 normal attack. But hopefully you reveal 2 to 3 tuners. I one time did it and I got 2 tuners, because obviously this deck has 3 has 12 tuners. This deck has 12 tuners, so you're pretty, if you reveal some monsters, you're more likely going to go 2 attacks at least. So I got two attacks one time, which was pretty awesome. So it's almost as good as Quasar attacking twice. Has the added ability that when your opponent monster declares an attack, you can select declares an attack, you can select it, then remove this card from play and negate that monster that was attacking, and then during the end phase special summon this card back from play. If Quasar brought this out, if I'm right, this won't come back after it was banished by that effect, but I've never really had to use that effect. 3300 is kind of hard to fuck with, right? And there's, of course, a really cool effect. Negate the activation of an effect that would destroy a card or cards on the field and destroy that card. So, has a Stardust effect, obviously. 3300 Stardust, can't argue with the results. Quasar can negate any card effects, spell, trap, or monster effects similar to Treat Toad, and have the added ability of, for every non-tuner synchro monster that was used to synchro summon this monster, it can attack that many times per battle phase. And obviously by this deck we make it where he attacks twice. So 4000 double attacker. When he leaves the field by any means, he can special summon Shooting Star Dragon from the extra deck. Then we have Stardust Warrior. Well, he has the effecto of during either player's turn, when your opponent would special summon a monster or monsters, you can tribute this card, negate the special summon, and if you do, destroy that monster or monsters. So this is similar to Solemn Strike. If your opponent pendulum summons, you can use it. If your opponent synchros, you can use it. If your opponent exceeds something, you can use it. If your opponent contact views, you can do it. You can use it. But if they use if they ritual summon, or if they fusion summon by polymerization, for example, or by a card effect, or even if they special by a card effect, this won't do anything against that. It would have to be generic summoning. You know what I mean? Inherent summons has to be specific, like synchro summon, exceed summon. These are inherent summons. These are summoning mechanics. There you go. So obviously this nice little 3000 beater also has the effect that during the end phase, this card effect was activated this turn and was not negated, you can special summon this card from your graveyard. It's kind of like Stardust, but for summoning, instead of spells and traps and monster effects like the original Stardust was. You can special summon this card from your, oh yeah, I already read that part. If this card is destroyed by battle, or if the face-up card you control leaves the field by an opponent's card effect and is still in your possession, you can special summon one level 8 or lower warrior synchro monster from your extra deck. This special summon is treated as a proper synchro summon. I don't have no Goyo Guardians or well, I do have Goyo the Fender, so I can bring that out. That's funny. I could bring that out. Ooh, can I bring out Jet Warrior? I think I can bring out Jet Warrior, right? Yeah, Warrior Synchro. Just gotta be a Warrior Synchro. All right, so I can bring out Jet Warrior or Goyo the Fender. By this card effect. What'd be cool is I make this. Oh, the funny thing is the way I make this is by using Goyo the Fender, so that'd be pointless. So the only thing I could really summon would be Jet Warrior. But anyway, that's fine. But you know, that effect will be rarely used because I rarely go into him anyway. It's only like maybe once or twice I went into him. It's all about Quasar, and you can do whatever you want with the deck. Of course, you can, play out. You can play with Salvage, try that out. Dupe Frog, helps you search out your Swab Frog, but also it gives you another frog that you can summon from Treat Toad's effect, so that we can have some free negation, so that you don't have to treat Toad himself for his effect. You could just tribute Dupe Frogs free of charge, right? Treeborn was being used at one point as the non-tuner to make stuff like Formula, but also to help with the 2-star tuners, because if I didn't have back row, Treeborn will special summon from the graveyard, right? Then I'll summon a 2-star Aqua tuner. Synchro, make a Goyo the Fender, special, right? And then just play like Surface, and then just go into a Quasar, go into Excel, and then do the combo and go into Quasar and OTK. That was the original idea, but I changed it up and try to put a little more emphasis on like Instant Fusion, Surface, try to make them more relevant instead of having an extra monster for the purpose of trying to pull off something that obviously Instant Fusion itself could do. So I'm trying to make Instant Fusion more multi-purpose. You can even try Herald of Pure Light, to recycle some stuff. It acts kind of like the way I like to look at it, it's kind of like an emerald. It'll let you add a monster from your graveyard back into your hand, and then take a monster from your hand, put it back, or monster or just a card. Shuffle one card from your hand back into your deck. So it's a good way of recycling some stuff in case you wanna, for some reason, you wanna put something back in your deck. Maybe a Swap Frog or something. Put it back in your deck, and then recycle either one of your extra deck monsters in case you need to use them more than once. Let's say you might want to reuse your Nodin, so you recycle your Nodin so that you can Instant Fusion, use Nodin and go into some type of single play, whatever. However way you want to use it, to each their own. And that's the end of the deck profile.